Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news to go talk about over here, where PlayStation has, once again, apparently yoinked something over here from Xbox due to contracts, lights, and all of that, so we kind of knew it was coming, but some pretty juicy drama unfolded from that. We also had Mark Cerny, the good old head honcho and the high IQ man of PlayStation himself, the guy who basically helped make the PlayStation, is on working for the PlayStation 5 Pro, and as well, had a chance to go to explain some more of these big PlayStation updates. We also had some big updates too as well, for some other various big things when it comes to, well, PlayStation VR, some more rumors, and everything else to tie that in. So let's go and dive into the video itself. So first and foremost, if you guys have actually missed it, we are now still seeing the ever-going reign of the PlayStation 5. Now, this was somewhat expected when it comes to contractual rights, but we have now had confirmation. Two major big facts when it comes to Modern Warfare 3, where some folks are actually a little bit upset on Call of Duty, but as well, some folks are also still upset that PlayStation, after all this big drama, turbulation, and everything else, is still going to be available first on PlayStation. Now, anyone who's been kind of somewhat following up the big court proceedings, they understand that the contractual rights have always kind of alluded towards that PlayStation will be consistently still getting their, basically contract agreements until it's actually over, which this actually may be the last one or next year, depending on when the contract itself ends. I think a lot of folks are assuming this year might be the last year for Call of Duty's big exclusivity combination with PlayStation, with early betas and demos, and as well as also just all that kind of good stuff. Now, Xbox does and has agreed that they will still be selling Call of Duty on PlayStation, and as well, there should be console polarity, so basically they'll be launched at the same exact time, so assuming betas may go and change slightly, or at the same exact time, we're not really sure, but at the end of the day, this is still a thing that's been back in the news. So right now, it will be available on PlayStation for at least 5 days before any other platform too as well, including PC and Xbox, and some folks are somewhat on the mediocre side for it. We've also been hearing a little bit of drama too as well. Modern Warfare 3 is actually copying quite a bit of code from Modern Warfare 2, mainly because there was the initial rumor that Modern Warfare 3 was supposed to be its own DLC and more addition to Modern Warfare 2, rather than being its own standalone game, but because the game itself was so developed and big, they actually end up saying, whatever, we'll just make our own brand new game. So basically, Modern Warfare 3 is public, but it'll be first available for PlayStation users. That's according to an advert now officially, so we're hearing more about official talk from Sony's Arabic YouTube channel, which reportedly said that players can play the demo first on PlayStation at least 5 days before any other platform. Now, these have actually been leaked out for a little while, mainly because, we've seen it, we kind of expected it, we saw people data mining stuff, so either way. As spotted and translated by Call of Duty specialist Charlie Intel, and is usually the first in the case these days, you will only have a chance to get in the first beta if you pre-ordered the game first, and the game itself, once again, is available on PlayStation first as well. So we're seeing a lot of the promotions and talks in this one too as well. So a lot of folks are kind of meh, but we have heard that Activision will be allowing people to go transfer over a lot of stuff from Modern Warfare 2 to this year's sequel, mainly because a lot of the code will be very, very similar to as well, including bundles, operators, and rewards too on top of that as well. And on top of that too, there's even more news where, it's a little bit on the sketchy side because people don't necessarily know how good or bad or ugly the game is going to be in the first place, but at least overall we know it's coming. So people are somewhat upset at this one because we've gone through this whole Xbox trial and all this money spent in Xbox users, but at the same time, this has been contractually confirmed, so we can't say too much. Now, also, Mark Cerny actually has a chance to go make his way downtown, talk about the Dolby Atmos support for PlayStation. And as you guys do or do not know, Mark Cerny is one of the masterminds behind most PlayStation consoles, one of the pretty much leads on actually making the technology and developing the technology, and has also been credited towards doing stuff like the PlayStation's SSD, or as well also working, again, with the PS6 or PS5 Pro. So basically, he's hiding this, obviously just talking about the software and how this all kind of changes up stuff. We're in the wake of the reporting the PlayStation 5's new Dolby Atmos support, which is one of the bigger updates for the upcoming beta. Sony's marketing team got in touch with them, and with the response from the PS5 lead system architect, Mark Cerny, on how the new surround sound system setup is basically meant to work and if it's good, improvements, etc. In the direct, they speculated that the PS5's existing, very impressive Tempest 3D audio data was most likely being recalculated and then injected into the Dolby Atmos container, so essentially just reusing the technology they already have. If you can think about it, it's an innovative solution, but it's also the only way that the PS5's existing library of titles can actually work with this Atmos setup until now. Developers would not have mastered audio to support the 7.1.4 speaker system. So it almost kind of seems like they're basically doing a funneling system of using one technology to then re-rendered into new technology. So in a statement, Mark Cerny takes us through the entire audio pipeline in PlayStation 5 and how the support has been extended To accommodate the extra speakers than an Atmos setup supplies. The nature of Sony's solution means that the Atmos support is entirely lag-free. So basically with all this number one, they're working with like the TVs and televisions and all that stuff to integrate these speakers and speaker systems, but as well, it also want to have it tied to the PlayStation 5's outputs. Because like, don't forget, like imagine like an old school Game Boy. Like it still had its own sound system, sound board, sound card. Think about your phone. If you try to go put your phone on, say, speaker, like you could literally change up the audio. It has different audio quality. Different phones will have different audio quality, or things like headphones. Don't forget they will have different quality, different like levels of quality, etc., etc. So like, it's kind of like how you'd imagine the PlayStation 5, or the PlayStation 5's internals have a set way to have their own audio basically determined. But with a little bit of social engineering, you're able to actually go and make it a little bit better. So basically, the nature of Sony's solution means that Atmos support is entirely lag-free, in contrast to some issues they've had on Xbox and Windows PC. Is a solution actually Atmos mix, though? It's as good as from a mathematical perspective, but with full support now added, sound engineers can master their audio mixes on full Atmos spec equipment, meaning there's scope for further improvement. So it's kind of like they wanted to use this technology, then they had a chance to kind of like somewhat like kind of jerry-rig it a little bit to make it work perfectly in terms of, I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe this might be a horrible one, but imagine like you're listening to a song on the radio. You hear the song, so then you go pull out your phone to record the phone audio of like basically the song on your car. So you can still hear the sound. It should have worked mostly pretty good. This is kind of like a bad experience because it's not probably going to be the best, but at that same point, you then can still rehear that same exact music on your phone in decent quality. Now, once again, someone can check, like in the comment section down below, could be like, hey, like, yeah, that's not the best one-to-one, but imagine it was done well, like proper. It's kind of like that same level, at least from what my understanding is. And then at the same time, if they have the proper Dolby support, it does help things out a little bit more. So I don't know, this is like a little bit above my pay grade when it comes to knowledge, but it's an intriguing thing nonetheless to see how they've had a chance to do this. So he said basically over here, it's probably easiest to talk about the Tempest-based 3D audio and the Dolby device support in terms of ambisonic audio, which is increasingly popular these days as well. Ambisonic audio can be reviewed as a pretty radical extension of stereo audio. With stereo audio, the game's audio engine, or the middleware being used, will add a sound source into one or both channels based on its location. If the source is to the right of the listener, it's primarily added into the right channel, and so on. With ambisonic audio, there are a lot more channels. Fifth order is very common and uses 36 channels, so it allows pretty good locality to the audio. A sound source is then added into the 36 channels based on location, and the math is a bit more complex than when using stereo, but not overwhelmingly so. These are just a lot of smart people words. Because the audio processing is channel-based, albeit at 36 channels rather than 2 channels, the audio designer keeps very good control of mixing, filters, etc. And strategies like dynamic range compression, or audibility of certain important audio, such as player character voice is ensured, can be used as usual. So it almost kind of seems like it's multiple different layers you can kind of fine-tune and kind of pick what you need. The ambisonic audio channels are then handed off to the Tempest 3D audio tech engine for rendering. Which is to say that the Tempest engine uses the player's HRTF and the speaker locations to create an appropriate audio stream for each speaker. The ambisonic audio channels encode all directions, including above the player. Even if rendering for headphones, this is very important because it allows a sound above the player to be processed in such a way to sound as if it's coming from above. This, of course, is where HRTF with its encoding of head and ear shape comes in. I have no idea what I'm reading. Up until the most recent update, the Tempest engine would render the information the ambisonic channels in these headphones, stereo TV speakers, and 5.1 and 7.1 audio setups. Now 7.1.4 has been introduced with its 4 overhead speakers, but nothing really changes in the overall Tempest rendering strategy, and the 36 ambisonic channels already include audio coming from all directions, including above the player. So put that differently, the support of the 4 overhead speakers is first-class support. They are handled just like any other speaker. Also note the rendering latency for these new speaker setups is identical to what has been in the past for stereo 5.1 and 7.1. As a result, the 7.1 experience for existing games should be quite good. It is true that game teams could not test with these speaker setups, but support should be pretty automatic, and necessary game audio data is already there in the ambisonic form. So going forward, there's an opportunity for improvement as the sound designers can verify the highest source of audio on 7.1.4 speakers as well. I think the only kind of takeaways I can get from all this is it seems like there is big potential for audio, basically just development, and as well this big update will also help out for them to have it almost seems like a chance for them to fine tune the audio and make it better in terms of like if you're on the right or the left or speaking, someone speaking behind you, or all of that. And on top of that too, it also kind of seems like before there was somewhat of a jerry-rigged solution, and now it seems like there's even more options and customability for this to basically make sure it all works as well. So it seems kind of cool. And the last but not least too as well, Texas Chainsaw is hopefully not going to play Friday the 13th, where they will lose all the rights, and this game will hopefully be really good. I cannot wait to play this game, just say. All right, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, Twitter and Twitch room down below, and make sure you guys are subscribed. Overall, love you guys.